Madam Speaker, Richard Wilbur Collins III was ready to graduate from Bowie State University yesterday. He just finished Army ROTC, was airborne qualified, and was just commissioned a second lieutenant in the United States Army Intelligence Branch. His father is a Navy veteran, and Richard wanted to follow in his footsteps and commit his life to serving our nation. He was ambitious and driven. His calling was to protect our country and to do what is right and just. He loved soccer and lacrosse. He was the top runner in his ROTC unit. His Facebook page was filled with selfies with his friends. He was active in his church. His friends and family said he had a loving and giving heart and would go out of his way to try and help others. On Saturday morning, while waiting for an Uber ride with two friends at the University of Maryland, he was approached by another student who demanded that he step left if you know what's best for you. Richard simply replied no. The other student stabbed him in the chest and fled. Richard died in the hospital. His bright future was stolen. His parents were robbed of their son. Our hearts are broken. This tragedy exposes a dangerous rising tide. This incident was not some random act of violence. It was a heinous, despicable, and unprovoked crime of hate. Richard Collins' murderer, who was from a middle-class family, who hung out at the student union and library. He was a member of a racist neo-Nazi group called the Alt-Right Nation. He was not some outsider. He was a homegrown terrorist who was radicalized on the university campus. What is most troubling is that this isn't the first incident of hate at the University of Maryland. This academic year alone, there have been anti-immigrant chalkings, racist flyers, threats, and less than a month ago, there was a noose found inside a campus fraternity house. But this isn't just a troubling trend at the University of Maryland. There's been an unprecedented spike in racist and hate activity on campuses since November. Posters at the University of Texas implored students to report any and all illegal aliens. America is a white nation. Another flyer with SWAT stickers at UCLA read in part, "The hordes of our enemies from the blacks to the Jews are deserving of fates of violence." Hate watch groups have tracked 150 racist incidences on college campuses in 33 states since the fall. Just a year ago, it was such a rarity that no one was even counting. Peddlers of hate are specifically targeting college campuses, declaring that their time has come and trying to lure students with slogans like "serve your people" and "our destiny is ours." They're working to translate their online activism to real-world action. And young people are prime targets, in part because they're still figuring out who they are and what they believe. One would have to be purposefully obtuse to not see a direct line from the recent elections to the emboldening of these perpetrators across the country. Longtime white supremacist Jared Taylor described the November election result as a sign of rising white consciousness, and that now is the time to press our advantage in every way possible. So today, I'm calling on the administration that has repeatedly failed to denounce the hate crimes directed at Jews, members of the LGBT community, or immigrants, to denounce the hate-fueled killing of a black soldier, Second Lieutenant Richard Collins. The reaction to Collins' murder is often formulaic. We extend our condolences and sympathies, call the killings a senseless tragedy, and proclaim that we won't tolerate these incidents. That's not good enough. If this escalation of hate is going to end in Maryland and across the country, it'll be because all of us take a stand, not only against the hard right and hate festering on campus, but to leaders that have been too content to remain silent and look the other way. Hate speech is not protected. Encouraging open academic debate cannot lead to inaction that creates a breeding ground for prejudice, discrimination, and violent hatred on our college campuses or anywhere. Campuses should adopt successful strategies, consider zero-tolerance policies for hateful speech and acts of racism. Maybe if students know that they'll be expelled for spreading racial slurs online, they'll think twice. Replicate the University of Massachusetts. They have a hate SWAT team that counters hateful messages through an early alert system, a counter-messaging response team, and counselors on call. Or promote more diverse voices in the faculty and staff. Pretending that the murder of Richard Collins in cold blood is an isolated incident will only make the situation worse. Diversity, unity, that American melting pot that is the foundation of our nation can only happen when the country does a better job confronting hate in all forms. And we cannot simply start when students arrive on campus. In the absence of real change, we take to the streets, we protest, we hold vigils. But Richard Collins deserves better. Our children deserve better. Let us work together, and let's not wait for another tragedy. Farewell and Godspeed, Lieutenant Collins. Thank you, Madam Speaker.